Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Cyber PMM Podcast, the only show dedicated to helping cyber PMMs fight digital chaos, cut through the hype, and do more with less. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, this is Dane. So last week we explored how cyber buyers really aren't following the traditional buyer's journey map anymore. And today I'm sharing my latest research on which product content formats actually influence cybersecurity buying decisions in 2025. The modern cyber buyer has unprecedented power thanks to AI tools, peer networks, and self-directed research. Understanding this new dynamic is really going to be essential for PMMs that want to stay relevant. And if you just look at the data, Gartner released a report that said 75% of B2B buyers now prefer a sales-free experience, and 80% of B2B buying interactions now occur via digital channels. So that is mind-blowing. That makes product marketing in a digital sense more important than ever. And product-focused content is at the core of that for product marketers. So this conversation couldn't be more relevant to both product marketing day-to-day activities, our function, our role in the business, and how we add value. How did I do this study? I used ChatGPT, full disclosure, ChatGPT's deep research tool to prompt it with a very extensive prompt that asked it to look at the content formats that enterprise and mid-market cyber buyers find most effective. And I added a whole bunch of context, limiting it to certain content formats, but also giving it leeway to find things that I might not be aware of. It yielded about 17 different content formats, from demos to in-product tours to white papers, product briefs, web pages, case studies, you name it. Pretty much all of the main types of assets that we produce are involved in that readout that it did. And then I asked it to break it down by buyer personas. So CISOs, SOC director, SOC analysts, detection engineers, compliance managers, and then evaluate it based on 4 dimensions. Does this influence purchase? Does it build trust? Is this content usable? So usability for that persona. And then 4th, LLM friendliness. So this AI-enabled buyer's flow we'll touch on later. How does this tie in terms of, will LLMs find this content that we're spending time on digestible or ingestible? Finally, I ask it to compile all of the results into effectiveness rankings, doing a simulation, right? Across those personas, I asked it to rank and score and make strategic recommendations for product marketers. So this is the type of study that you might pay $50,000 for if you did it right with a third party. Obviously, I'm not going to drop that much of my own money because, first of all, that's just way too expensive. And second of all, with AI, you get pretty close results. When you're in a pinch and you need to do these types of things, I highly recommend using deep research, whether it's ChatGPT or with Copilot directly or with Gemini, or I think Claude just announced a deep research capability. In terms of sources, it went into the web where you can find out what buyers are using in purchase decisions. First of all, what is the primary research that was done officially by analyst firms that they reported in some kind of like high-level readout? Often Gartner, Forrester, IDC will do these studies, but they just report on like the top level findings. It went into other areas like ISMG and Reddit forums. It went into Discord channels and like where these threads are that are available on the web. It's better to be transparent that this wasn't done with me talking directly with buyers. Okay, so let's look at the research. The first area was called product content effectiveness across cyber buyer persona. This took an aggregate across all 5 personas and asked it to rank it based on the 4 categories: purchase influence, trust building, usability, and LLM friendliness. So it takes all 17 of those content formats and gives it a basic high, low, or medium score. And so by purchase influence, the highest ranking live experiences, events, and roundtables fit into that category. Buyer guides is high. ROI calculators is high on purchase influence. Self-guided demos is high. In-product tours is high. And then white papers. Trust building. Scoring high again, white papers and ebooks, live experiences, integration guides and technical docs for technical trust, conference sessions if they're thought leadership, and then buyer guides, often third party. And then for usability, product web pages are high for usability, which makes sense. Product briefs and or data sheets is high if they're concise. Demo videos, high if they're easy to watch. In-product tour, high if they have a hands-on feel. And then blog posts, high if they're short and digestible. And product FAQs is high if they're structured with a Q&A. Competitive comparisons is high if they're to the point. Social media posts, high if they're very short. And then for LLM friendliness, I was curious about this one. Number one, product web pages. Okay. Product FAQs, integration guides and technical docs if the text is accessible. And then blog posts is high, which makes sense, right? Because they're easily available and accessible. And then social media posts high if they have text. If you average out all of that and you start to look at the content and ask it by persona, that's what we're going to get into next. I wanted to also know what the overall score was across these 5 personas for the product content. So you'll see here in this table, the highest ranking overall score, case studies. And that's across the 5 personas, taking in those 4 factors. Self-guided demos and trials is next, and then blog posts follows that. So those are the top 3 for overall score. Following that, at an 8.1 is live experiences, events and roundtables, and then in-product tours, followed by integration guides. And let's go to CISOs. Number 1, case studies. They want to see evidence and proof that others have found this useful. And then live experiences, events, and roundtables. So RSAC is next week. This is going to be right up your alley in terms of engaging with executives on site and in person. Events still do matter. White papers and ebooks, they provide more in-depth proof and validation. Coming in next is buyer guides, and then followed by integration guides. So that's the top 5 for CISO. Top 5 for SOC director. Again, case studies, self-guided demos and trials, live experiences in like events and roundtables, ROI calculators or business value tools. And then 5th is architectural diagrams. SOC analysts. This is probably the highest score of anything at a 9.8. If you want to reach a SOC analyst, self-guided demos, trials, that makes a ton of sense. I think there's a lot of waves being made right now around tools like Novatic and others that provide this capability. So self-guided demos, definitely if you want to get to that practitioner level. And this makes sense. In-product tours is next. Blog posts, number 3. And then number 4 is integration guides or technical docs. Number 5, product FAQs. They're really just trying to find the answers quick, right? And so any information you can put out there to do that is going to reach your SOC analyst crowd. And then detection engineers, no surprise, similar to SOC analysts, number 1 is self-guided demos and trials at a 9.7. So when you look at this practitioner level and analysts and engineers, they really want these self-guided demos and then integration guides and technical docs, followed by architecture diagrams, then blog posts, and then in-product tours. So I think it's a very similar or the same top 5 as SOC analysts. And then compliance managers. Number 1 is ROI calculators and business value tools. Number 2 is white papers and ebooks. 3 is case studies. 4, buyer guides. And 5 is product briefs and data sheets. All right. How does this impact the AI-enabled buyer's flow? So when you look at the signal spark phase, everything begins with a trigger. So a CISO reads about a breach at a competitor, a SOC director struggles with alert fatigue, compliance manager gets blindsided by a new regulation. These are sparks to trigger a search, and Google isn't the go-to anymore. They're starting by defining the problem, and they're asking LLMs what tools help prevent XYZ from happening. How are other companies solving this challenge? So it's curiosity, problem definition, rather than solution scope. In terms of the content research, this is technical blogs, threat research, thought leadership content that addresses emerging challenges, not product features, just, especially for analysts and engineers that value educational content and acknowledges their pain points without pushing your wares. So number 2, AI scouting. This is like where everything has changed because buyers immediately turn to AI assistants to do initial vendor research, prompting Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever, to surface potential vendors, even if they're not explicitly looking for a vendor. That's where these types of questions are asked. What are the top solutions for automating GDPR compliance reporting or something like that? Where a CISO says, build me a comparison table of ransomware protection tools that integrate with XYZ security stack. So these AI tools are generating things at rapid clips, structured information that would have taken days to compile manually just a few years ago are now just a few prompts away. So the content impact is focusing on SEO or LLM optimized machine readable content, which is crucial. Vendors whose websites, docs, and product info are easily parsed by AI crawlers are going to gain a significant advantage here. And the content has to be structured with clear feature sets. Number 3, the peer echo phase. Modern buyers, they're not going to trust what we say outright. They trust their peers. Sorry to break it to you as a PMM. You don't really have that trust or credibility factor because you're obviously going to do whatever you have to say, whatever you have to best represent your product. That's why peer groups are so important for buyers. And so after they shortlist with AI-assisted research and narrow the field, they're validating their findings through community channels. They post things in Slack groups that are specialized, that are exclusive, Reddit communities, LinkedIn channels or DMs, Discord, right? Areas like that with simple questions about, hey, has anyone used this before? And what's your experience with XYZ product? And that's where they're really going to get the brass tacks type information about products. And this validation phase is rapid and often invisible to vendors, and it can make or break your shortlist placement. So bad reviews in these forums, they eliminate a vendor without ever knowing they were even being considered. And the content impact for you is that customer evidence is king, right? So case studies, testimonials, a strong presence in these security communities, they dramatically influence decision-making at this stage. SOC directors in particular value hearing from peers in similar size orgs when validating solutions. The 4th stage in demo hunt, buyers want to experience products, right, on their own terms. The last thing they want is to be confronted with one of your complex forms asking for their blood type in order to talk to sales, in order to figure out what the product actually looks like, right? So the harder you make that process, they're just going to bounce out of it and they're going to go to a vendor that makes it seamless. So they prompt things like, find me a list of demo videos for product XYZ after they've done that shortlist. And they'll say, does this product meet these requirements? And they'll search for free trials, sandboxes, self-service demos, environments. Detection engineers and analysts especially value self-guided product exploration, where they can test out specific use cases relevant to their environment. And the content impact here is obviously building more interactive content. It performs exceptionally well. Self-service demos, free trials that are easy to get into, and meaningful sample data, detailed walkthrough videos, and interactive product tours all help buyers experience value without the friction of talking to sales. And then finally, in justification, AI is helping buyers build consensus around a decision they've already made, and they're looking for budget or support. So they'll use AI tools to create comparison decks, compile feature matrices, and develop business justifications for their preferred solution. CISO might prompt to create a deck comparing these 3 vendors and recommending vendors A and B, and generate presentation-ready materials for the boards. And only after this internal justification is complete do most buyers finally reach out to vendors, often much further along in their decision process than vendors even realize. So the content impact here is having things like ROI calculators, total cost of ownership comparisons, business value justification materials. CISOs and compliance managers especially, they need this to build internal business cases and demonstrate value to non-technical stakeholders in this process. So that's how the AI-enabled buyers flow is impacted by these research findings. And then what are the strategic implications for cyber PMMs? Number 1, start optimizing for AI consumption. Your content isn't just for humans anymore. You have to structure web pages, docs, and product info to be easily parsed by AI tools. Use clear headings, structured data, and machine-readable formats. Consider creating API docs as well and knowledge bases that LLMs can easily access and synthesize. 2, invest in self-service experiences. Modern buyers want to experience your product without talking to sales. I've said this 10 times already. Create robust self-guided demos, free trials with meaningful sample data, and interactive product tours that allow technical evaluators to test specific use cases. For technical personas like SOC analysts, detection engineers, nothing beats hands-on experience. Number 3, amplify authentic customer voices. Peer validation has never been more important, so invest in detailed case studies, video testimonials, and customer advocacy is going to be your best friend. Encourage satisfied customers to share experiences in community forums where potential buyers are validating their research. Number 4, create justification tools. Make it easy for your champions to sell internally. Develop those ROI calculators, customizable presentation templates, business value frameworks that buyers can use with internal stakeholders. Remember, the final decision often involves non-technical executives who need to understand the value in business terms. Finally, number 5, monitor community sentiment. What's being said about your solution across security communities? And this can make or break deals before you even know you're even being considered. So maintain visibility in specialized forums, Slack groups, social platforms where security pros gather, and address concerns proactively and engage authentically. In conclusion, this represents a profound shift in how cyber products are evaluated and then purchased. By understanding these new dynamics and aligning your content strategy to support buyers at each stage, PMMs can better position themselves for success. The most successful cyber PMMs will be those that embrace this new reality, creating content that serves both human and AI consumption, facilitating self-directed evaluation, amplifying customer advocacy, and providing powerful justification tools that help champions build internal consensus. Okay, everyone, I hope this was useful. I hope this will inspire you to rethink your content strategy as a cyber PMM. So thanks a lot. See you next time. Well, that does it for this episode of the Cyber PMM Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a comment or review, and let's connect on LinkedIn. Be sure to check out cyberpmm.com for more resources. And you can also subscribe to the Cyber PMM newsletter on Substack and LinkedIn to keep up to speed with everything you need to fight digital chaos, cut through the hype, and do more with less. See you next time.